What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live, Coach Dan, by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host, once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Hey, it's Sunday morning, and if you think you're getting up early for the show, well, let me tell you, if you're a Lions coach, if you're a Lions front office person, Brad Holmes, MCDC, you may not have even been to sleep yet. Let's walk through in today's show the breakdown to how we're getting to the 53-man roster, who impressed, who didn't impress yesterday, and our predictions not only for who's going to make the team, but any kind of transactions you might be seeing in the next, whatever it's going to be, 52 hours remaining, something like that, before Tuesday's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time breakdown of the team. There's a whole lot of things to be compressed here, and yes, I've made a couple adjustments to my 53-man roster predictions from about a week ago. There's going to be some areas we're all going to probably shake some heads about, some hard decisions, because there are some talented players that are not going to be here in Detroit come Tuesday. But we're also got a special guest of the day halfway through the show. Hutch Jr., superfan Hutch Jr. is going to join us, offer his thoughts. His thoughts may not be my thoughts, may not be your thoughts. A number of you, I was impressed yesterday during the game. A number of you reached out to me, had very big opinions about this, that, the other thing of the team. The only thing I would say when you reach out to me, don't get upset when my opinion isn't your opinion. There were a few of you guys that clearly think that Hendon Hooker should be with the team, and that's okay if that's your thought. But don't get upset if I think, man, I just see it differently. Same with a couple other positions. I get we all are chomping at the bit for the regular season. I think we all want the best for each of the players on this team. At the end of the day, though, you heard MCDC in the presser talk about it. It's one of the worst things about being a coach is that you can't keep everybody, you get to know these players, their families for maybe a month or so now, maybe even longer. And the fact that you got to show some of them the door, that stinks. All right, before we get into the 5 headlines now, before we get to the main topic of the day, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We are 63 subs away from hitting 14,300. If you can assist with that, man, I surely would be thankful for your help. Also, if you have a free second of time, it doesn't cost you a dime, reach on down and hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. Heck, if we get 1,000 likes, man, I would really be thankful. Last but most certainly, never least, if you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, let alone the continental United States, go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text. You see the number on the screen, 269-998-2384. Yes, some of you guys will even message me about we should change this with the offense or the defense. I get it. Nothing wrong with having your thoughts. Again, just be respectful. If my thoughts are different than yours, it's okay for two people to view the same thing in different ways. All right, with all that done, set out of the way, let's get the show rocking, rolling, and going and kicking off with some 5 headlines now. Just think, man, basically 2 weeks from today, we've got live NFL football with the Detroit Lions, and not the second and third strings and the 15th strings. We got the first strings out there. 5 headlines now, kicking off with this story. DJ Reed jumpstarts hype for young Lions defender coming into vital season. Sideline report, story by Max Demara. We've heard about it. Many of us haven't seen it, but the hype train in this story is going to be legit, I believe. I think you're hearing more and more, not just from Lions reporters, but you heard from Miami Dolphins reporters. You heard from Houston Texan reporters. The emergence of, that's right, Terrion Arnold. Arnold has looked every bit as advertised when we drafted him. Some fans I get last year thought it was a wasted draft pick. Some of them were like, man, you should have taken Mitchell. Instead, he let the Philadelphia Eagles get him a couple picks before us, all sorts of things. But I always try to remind people cornerback is one of the more difficult, challenging spots in the NFL to make a jump from college to the pros. That being said, all different reports from different outlets are saying the same thing. We've heard it throughout the preseason. TA is looking like the player on the team that might make the biggest first to second year jump. And you know what? He is standing out. DJ Reed talked about it with reporters recently, talked about what he sees with the young cornerback, what he's trying to offer some wisdom to. He thinks between him, TA, maybe a Meek Robertson. We'll have to see who's actually starting, but I think most of us are anticipating those will be the starting 3 cornerbacks. He sees a guy that's really starting to shine and is going to be a star in this league. How much of that is just, hey, he's my teammate, I'm going to talk him up? How much of it is what everybody else is saying? He's got the size, he's got the panache, he's got the strength, he's, fluid with the hips. He gets out there, he's covering Jameson Williams, he's covering the number 1 or 2 receiver from each of these teams we've just faced in intra-squad scrimmages, and he's showing everything you could want out of him. He's a budding star in the making, is what DJ Reed had to say. You know what? Right now, I think the Lions are looking like pretty smart people for selecting him, trading up, and getting him. We'll see if that holds up during the regular season, of course. All right, next to the 5 headlines now. Detroit Lions. This might be the biggest no-brainer of all these stories. Detroit Lions Isaac Teslaa continues to prove the doubters wrong. Scores TD in 3rd straight game. Total Apex Sports. Matt Brown. All right, we get it. He's got a hype train. We get it. He's this, that, and the other thing. When's the last time you saw a non-first or second round Lions draft pick get this kind of coverage, not just in Detroit, but nationally? They are talking about him on every platform that covers North American sports. I don't know. Maybe you can go over to some remote areas of different countries overseas and have them still talking about Teslaa. But what we can say is, anybody who had a question, anybody who threw something on the mic on draft day, anybody who just shook their fist angrily at the crowd and yelled out Brad Holmes' name and said, you don't know what you're doing by trading 50 third-round picks for this guy, I think we're all on the same page now. They did the right move. They got somebody he's a number 1 wide receiver. It maybe not day 1 of the regular season, but at some point in his career, assuming nothing, really changes that, I guess, he is going to be a number 1 receiver in this league. He's too big. He's too strong. And this is without a lot of time to grow and develop in the NFL. Yes, I understand he's doing it against the 2nd strings or the 3rd strings. But as MCDC in the presser yesterday pointed out, he's been doing this in joint practices with Jared Goff, with the number 1s. They just haven't put him out there. I would say as a coach, I was less than happy to see him out there most of that first quarter, and then I think the early part of the second quarter yesterday. I just think you've seen enough of him and a couple of the other guys. I would have got him off the field, but hey, thankfully nothing happened. Teslaa, where he's going to be week 1 of the regular season on the depth chart, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do think sooner versus later, though. Remember, when he was drafted, if you were watching the draft coverage I had, as soon as we took him, I was like, man, this is a huge win for the Lions. Just because I knew about the guy, I thought he was a massive upside candidate. And I said at that point, we got halfway through the season, my anticipation is he would be your number 3. I no longer think that. I think it's going to be within the first, say, month of the regular season. He's probably going to assume to some level the number 3. Some of it could be situational, where I think Khalif Raymond maybe is the number 3 in certain packages, and then Teslaa is the number 3 in other packages. But the Lions, man, they seem to have hit big. Duke Crew, what say you? When is the last time a non-first or second round pick for the Detroit Lions resonated this kind of hype train, in your opinion? I struggle to think of one, and I've covered this team for a real long time. All right, Lions running back could be delayed. Linebacker injury concerning. Detroit Lions on SI, story by Video Shrito. Not going to spend a lot of time on this one because, to be honest, this involves 2 guys I don't really think are going to be on the 53-man roster. I guess you have to stick around to see the predictions, though, to know that for sure. But in case you missed it from yesterday's game, Ezekiel Turner, it does sound like he tore an Achilles tendon. That has not been fully confirmed. But when in the locker room after the game, he did talk to Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press, kind of mentioned that's where they were leaning with things. I don't think Turner was going to make this team irregardless. I don't think he did enough this preseason. You can have your own opinions. Of course, be respectful. but I do think he's going to go on the IR and maybe get an injury settlement from that. Later in the game, Nate Lynn, just so you guys know, did get a little roughed up, although he did return to the game. They did take his helmet away from him for a while, but that's usually not a good sign for any player. Later on, though, they did get him back, like I said, got on the field. And then Jacob Sailors did get banged up a little bit, although I haven't heard any updates on him. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be a lingering situation for him. All right, let's see, next to the 5 headlines now. Detroit Lions 9-game starter floated as release candidate ahead of cutdown day. The Sporting News by Bryce Lancerby. You know, a lot of people have had speculation about a few different Lions players. One of them could be Tim Patrick, the subject of this article by the Sporting News, that could either be traded or released. I'm not so sure either one isn't wrong. I'm not so sure they're right. I do think there's a situation where the Lions might keep them. We'll talk about that during the main topic of the day. But what do you think? How many trades do you think between now and 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? I say that because some of the stuff that comes in at 3:50, right before the 10 minutes before the cutdown day, won't actually hit the wires to most of us until about 30 minutes afterwards. But I do think there is a situation where the Lions will be trading a few players, and that's also why the initial 53 that I'm about ready to give you an update on is going to be what it is. I think some of these guys are going to be kept for trade opportunities, knowing that there's a pretty good opportunity you can fill in those spots, a couple people that would be released. All right, Lions' biggest winner from the preseason couldn't be clearer. Sideline report story by Candace Perez. I'm just going to fire through this one because you probably all guessed who it is, and that's Teslaa. If there's somebody else in training camp, preseason games, that has had a bigger winning way than Isaac Teslaa, then let me know, because you know what? I'm not privy to him. This guy, I mean, what can we say that we haven't already said? He's big, he's fast, he's friendly, he catches the ball, he locates the ball. Check out when he gets even to the DB and then he hits on the jets and gets past them. He's a lot faster than I think that 40 time. He's game speed, maybe not clock speed, so we'll have to wait and see. But again, I'm going to move on to the next one here. All right, last one here. Key takeaways from Detroit Lions loss against the Texans. SI.com story by John Macaron. You know, some key takeaways. I'll just say this. Kyle Allen, I don't think there's a universe we now live in where he's not the number 2 quarterback on this depth chart. Yes, we'll examine this more in depth in the main topic of the day. Teslaa gets his 3rd touchdown of the preseason. I mean, the guy's a monster. You guys, if you didn't watch it live, I'm sure you can find the film from the highlights. Defense gashed in the first half. You know, that defensive line, I didn't think it looked great, and that's not a good thing for a bunch of them. And it's not just the defensive line, it was the defense overall. Former Lions wide receiver Quintus Cephas, he had himself a game there. Maybe that gets him a roster spot. Hendon Hooker does not spark the offense in any meaningful way. I agree. I think he made some good throws. I also thought he missed a whole lot of throws. And those who are Hooker fans, you're right to think that way. I see a lot of good things with the kid. I just don't see enough consistency. There was about 3 or 4 of you guys that messaged me during the game saying if he would be out there with the starters, he would look better. That might be true. But my thought is this, though. You know, if you're a number 1 quarterback or even a number 2 quarterback and you're out there against the 3rds, the 4s, the 5th strings, you should be able to make plays. The accuracy shouldn't be a question. Now, it's one thing if a receiver's dropping the pass, running the wrong route. Okay, that stuff, that's not on the quarterback. But when you're throwing the guys that are open and you're overthrowing their head, that is on the quarterback. Or if you're leading them and it's 4 or 5 yards in front of them, that's on the quarterback. That's my opinion. Doesn't have to be your opinion. All right, some notes here real quick, then we'll get to the main topic of the day. Lions linebacker Grant Stewart started the game with a 44-yard return. I never thought I'd say a linebacker is a possibility to be one of your kick returners, but you know what? I'd say in this month of the preseason, Grant Stewart's probably earned that. Detroit's starting defensive line ends Alquin Muhammad, Pat O'Connor, tackle Chris Smith, Miles Adams, linebacker Trevor Nowaski, Zach Cunningham, and Stewart, cornerbacks Nick Whiteside, Alan George, and safeties Rakia Singh and Eric Hallett. Detroit's starting offensive line was Giovanni Manu, Netai Mutai, Kingsley Ukwana, and center Yodi, and then right guard Dan Skipper was at left right tackle. Excuse me about that. Not going to worry about the new uniforms that they had out there yesterday with the all-white pants that you guys probably saw. I didn't even really notice it until somebody pointed out to me. And then the reported attendance was nearly 50,000 for the game. All right, let's get on over to the main topic today. We got about 15 minutes until we have our special guest breaking down this information with us. But let's see what you guys have to say about what I came up with for our final preseason or 53-man roster predictions. All right, here we go. I'm going to dive into this. Some of you will love it. Some of you will hate it. But you know what? I got to go with what I would do. And again, this isn't what I think MCDC is going to do. Maybe not a lot of it, but him and Brad Holmes, I'm sure they'll have some differences. I've shared my thoughts about a couple of these spots. I would not make moves here, there, everywhere with. Let's just start with the quarterback spot because that's probably going to be the easiest one for most people to ascertain. You know, again, could they throw a curveball and go in a completely different direction? Sure. But Jared Goff, how about this? Breaking news, he's going to be your starting quarterback. Reserve Kyle Allen. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Hendon Hooker thing. I've kind of already given you my thoughts on it. I like the guy. I just don't think he's going to be on the roster. I think he's going to be cut. Whether or not he returns on the practice squad is an interesting conversation. Personally, you can like somebody all you want, but as a coach, you got to make decisions for the team. And I'd be looking for another number 3 quarterback, and it wouldn't be Hendon Hooker at this point. Running backs, Gibbs, without question. He's your starter. Reserves, Dave Montgomery, although I do suspect they'll both split time, split carries, be a lot of situations where they both start in the backfield. I did kind of hope Jacob Sailors could crack the lineup, but with that being said, I have Craig Reynolds and Sion Vaki out there. Vaki, though, once again, another flare-up with that hamstring. Your best ability is availability, and I'm starting to question his ability to be available. Tight ends, this will probably be the first one. I know I've talked about it with you guys for a while. First kind of surprise, Sam Laporta. He's going to be your starter. Brock Wright is going to be a backup. I did not keep Zane Zylstra. I like him as a receiver. I just don't think he can block anybody. Anybody watching this show could get to the quarterback and the running back on this guy. I think he's that bad at run blocking. Again, I like him. They're probably going to keep him, but I wanted to free up a roster spot for something more elsewhere on the team. I've done so already with 2 by getting rid of Zane Can't Block Zylstra and Hendon Hooker. Let's see. Wide receivers, I'm going to keep 7. And yeah, I'll get a lot of flack for that. I'm also going to preface this and say I do think the Lions are going to package 1, maybe 2 of these guys in trades. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond. That's your number 1, 2, and 3 to me. Teslaa, Patrick, Jackson Meeks, and then, yes, Dominic Lovett are all going to make it on this team as reserves. My reasoning for that, I've shared it with the Duke before. I just think for a number 3 tight end, you're either going to use an extra offensive lineman to achieve that in certain positions, or you're going to use a Teslaa, Tim Patrick, or Jackson Meeks in those situations. If you're going to obviously run a little bit more of a pass pattern out of those, I think you got just the same value. You got better positioning. I think Teslaa probably actually run blocks better than, what's his name? Zane Zylstra. Maybe Tim Patrick too. We did see evidence of that last year where they did use Timmy Patrick as the number 3 tight end, and I actually thought he did a pretty good job with him. All right, offensive tackles, Dan Skipper, Penei Sewell, probably a no-brainer there. Dan Skipper, Giovanni Manu will be the backups there. Jamarco Jones, I like him. I thought he did a lot of good stuff, but you can't keep everybody. All right, let's go to the interior offensive line. Christian Mahogany, Graham Glasgow, Tate Ratledge, Yodi, and Kingsley Ukwan. Kingsley Ukwan, I think I wanted to cut him, but I thought he didn't do horrible yesterday, and he can play center. So on the depth chart, here's how I Scooby-Dooed it. You know, you're going to have Graham Glasgow be your starting center. Probably Ukwan is going to be your number 3, and then Ratledge would be the backup in emergency situations as the number 2. Or maybe you could, slice and dice that. Maybe Graham would be the number 3 center, and then Kingsley Ukwan would be the number 2. But you guys get it. You've got 3 guys there. I would really like to see them upgrade this position, bring in somebody who's a better option to be a backup center. I think that would probably be one of the ones they're probably working on in the next 72 hours to see what they can do. Defensive tackle, you want another upset? I've got one for you. All right, defensive tackle, we're going to keep 5. Talik Williams, DJ Reader, nobody's surprised by that. Roy Lopez, Mekhi Wingo are going to be the backups, along with, I struggled with this one. I spent some time debating this. I was trying to decide Patty O'Connor or Keith Cooper. I'm going to keep Keith Cooper Jr. I just think he's better. I really wanted to keep Broderick Martin. I thought the last 3 weeks he's gotten better. The problem was yesterday, I just didn't see any flash out of him. I didn't see anything that made me really jump off the page at him. Because of that, Cooper Jr., his versatility, I think he wins out there. Although I will say this, I won't be surprised if they find a way to bring Broderick Martin and Pat O'Connor back. You know, Chris Smith, I know a lot of you guys were fans with him. I thought he started training camp out pretty well, but I just haven't seen him since, and that's not a good way to be. I'd rather, if I'm a coach, I'd probably rather see something out of him sooner versus later. Broderick Martin, I just thought at the end of the day, well, again, he flashed a lot for a while. It was just kind of too little too late, so we'll see what happens there. Edges, Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, Aliquid Muhammad, Keith Cooper, I mentioned it earlier, is going to make it because he's going to be a flex guy. Nate Lynn. This is where I had some questions because Cooper Jr., I think, can play both. Well, does that open up a roster spot if you move him inside and maybe then you keep Pat O'Connor or somebody else? Don't forget Aleem the Dream McNeil. He is reporting that he's going to be back sooner versus later. I do think he's going to be back early in October. If that happens, probably somebody else is out of that list there. All right, let's move on now to the linebackers. I got Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes. Probably nobody's surprised by that. Trevor Nowatzki, a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, I would have said I'm not sure he's going to make it. But his play has gotten, steadily better, and that's all I can say as a coach you want to see. It's just steady improvement. It doesn't always have to be big improvement. He's done that. Zach Cunningham, Grant Stewart, these have been massive pickups there for the team. I think both of these guys probably could start on some NFL teams, especially Cunningham. I really like him. Will there be situations where the Lions have 4 linebackers out there? I think so. And these 2 guys, maybe not Nowatzki as much, but I think Stewart and Cunningham could fill in nicely. I do believe when Rodrigo gets cleared, probably Nowatzki is out of this lineup and mix. We'll see what shakes. Cornerback, another one I wanted to really try to find a way to keep one more player, sort of like the wide receiver spot. I probably overloaded a little bit, but again, some of those guys I think are going to be trade options. Quarterback starters, Terry Arnold, DJ Reed, reserves, Amik Robinson, Rock Ya-Sing, Kalia Dorsey. Not a big surprise with any of those guys there. Although if the Lions want to pull a fast one and say, hey, Rock Ya-Sing is going to be a safety on this depth chart, not a corner, doesn't matter. All these guys can play all the positions out there. Dorsey's big value. You've seen it. The first day he gets back to training camp, they have him taking first-team reps as the outside gunner on special teams. And, yes, that is a big deal when you first get back and they're saying, hey, you're already better than everybody else. Dorsey, hey, the faster he gets fully recovered, it's going to be great for this team. Safeties, they're going to keep 5, and I did not want to do that originally. But, again, if you're only going to keep 5 corners, you're probably going to keep 5 safeties. But either way, you've got 10 people in the secondary. That's one of the things I really love that this regime has done last year and then this year. They have made these spots interchangeable. Because of that, you can keep more talent, more promising talent. I know there'll be at least 1 or 2 of you in the comment section that will be happy with this. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, nobody came into camp thinking either one of these guys wouldn't make the team. We all got it. Avonte Maddox, when we signed him, I know some of you were really impressed by that, thought we got him pretty cheap. I agree. Because, again, he can play all the spots out there. He can play the nickel slot corner. He can play the X wide corner. He can play both safety spots. There's nothing he can't do. Versatility has been his friend. Here's where it got interesting to me because I really like Lawrence Strickland. Last year when we were doing this very same video, I said, man, he looks like a poor man's version of Brian Branch. Only problem is, have you seen a whole lot of development since then to now? In my opinion, he's kind of regressed, and that's not a good trend to be on. Due to that, and again, some of you will be happy, I was trying to decide who would you keep, Ian Kennelly or Eric Hallett on the team, or Nick Whiteside. You can't keep them all, but we found a way to keep 2 of them. Whiteside, I just thought, man, if you could create one more spot on this secondary, he's probably making it. Miller Jr., I know Lauren, who covers the Michigan Panthers, really liked him, and I do too. I just thought, man, he just didn't do enough to be in that consideration. But with that being said, I got Ian Kennelly and Eric Hallett making the team. And Hallett, his versatility is a lot like Avonte Maddox, although I don't think he can defend the slot at all. I think he can play the outside corner. I think he can play both safeties. That got him on the team. Kennelly, though, he's impressed me with his development throughout training camp. You see everything he's done. You see how much he's growing on a week-to-week basis. To me, he's got the athleticism. Nobody ever questioned that. He's got size that most safeties or corners simply do not have. He's got burst. He's got range. He locates the ball. The big reason I kept him is watching him in OTAs and watching the film of him throughout training camp. You see his play recognition has really jumped fast. He is responding things incredibly quick. I don't think there's a world where he doesn't make the team. And then as long as he progresses throughout the season, Dan Action Jackson probably doesn't have a future with the Detroit Lions because of this pick. I don't think he can play corner. Maybe in time he can, but that would give the Lions a little bit more size. We came into training camps noticing a lot of you guys pointed out we're not very big at the cornerback or the secondary spot. But now with some of these guys being added, the Lions, they're no longer small out there. Vontae Maddox, Ian Kennelly, Hallett, etc. Nick Whiteside, if he was to make it with the team, I think hopefully he makes it to the practice squad. But that's who I got with that group, and I think it gives you some great versatility. Not a big surprise with any of this stuff here with the specialists. Jack Fox, nobody anticipated he wouldn't make the team. Same with Jake Bates or Hogan Hatton. So we'll see. All right, Duke Crew, those are my thoughts on it. Who do you think I'm right on? Who do you think I'm wrong on? Who would you keep at different positions? 99% of this stuff I think we're all probably agreeing on, but there's going to be a 1 to 2% of this roster where maybe you guys have your own opinion. I really like a lot of them, but let's see what you guys have to say. And then we got about 4 minutes till we see what Hutch Jr. has to say, superfan himself. Let me scroll to the top of the screen and see how many of you guys we can get on here before we get the special guest. Puckett D, Gritty and Sanitation Coach and Duke Crew, One Pride, woo, back at you. JDC, Morning All, Tori Apple. Hooker is toast, great kid, good family, not very accurate. That's what gets me with him. He's got some flashes, but the accuracy, to me, he just looks nervous. If there's some way he could just calm down, I think he could turn the ship around. Carrie, hey, Lions fans, back at you. Michael D, I agree. Tori, HH is gone. All right. Bo, good morning. Duke Crew, certainly certain the talk about a quarterback trade is going to ramp up. Woo! Yeah, I do wonder, can you acquire somebody you have faith in? I don't know if you're going to be able to get a quarterback that's going to supplant Allen as the number 2. Maybe it's possible, but I'd like to see at least somebody on the practice squad who's protected and be a sound number 3. Johnny L, good morning, folks. Same to you. John King, good morning, coach and crew. Hooker has been a disappointment. Time to move on. We still have a great team. I'll go with that. Gary, this is why I love the UFL. Yeah, it might be good for him to go to the Canadian League, go to the UFL, just kind of regain his composure and the reemerge in the NFL. I think that would be good for him. Art, don't waste a roster spot with Hooker. He's a liability. Trade him. We'll see if anybody will trade for him. Steve, there will be some hard conversations about the D-line and wideouts. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. 100%. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan and Duke. What a team. What a podcast. What a time to be a Lions fan. Woo! And back at you, Henry, as always. Johnny L, yeah, I know that Hooker is gone. Probably. Who would trade for him if he's a liability? That's a good question. John King, let's see, Hooker is on his way to camp. Yeah, maybe. Pat, does B-Mart make the team? Question mark. I don't think he does. If he would have had a big game yesterday, I think that might have pushed him up enough to at least really be in consideration. But I thought he had a kind of meh performance, so that probably killed it for somebody else or pushed somebody else in. Hookadoo. Good morning, Duke Crew. I'm surprised he didn't have someone in the locker room packing Hooker's things up for him during the game. Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Gary, CFL is also an option. I'll agree. Amy, greetings, salutations, Danny, ultra fabulous Duke Crew! Exclamation point. If Hendon Hooker isn't traded, I'll be seriously wondering what they are thinking. Again, though, somebody would have to be willing to trade for him, and I'm not sure that exists right now. He might be cut and picked up by somebody. I don't know if they're going to trade much for him. But then again, I thought he would have had Z signed by now, so go figure. Yeah, I'll go with that. 5 versus Ready, good morning. Hooker just isn't consistent. Yes, I'd say that's a fair statement. And a grip morning, Johnny L. Back at you. Johnny L., maybe the Titans will pick him up. That's a possibility. He is pretty fan-friendly there. Clinton, great sanitation, y'all. Do we start Teslaa's kid got that burst? He does have a good burst, man. He gets up that sideline fast. Henry Moore, if they let Hendon Hooker go, they'll wait to see who's on the free market. Don't know what Brad Holmes likes to bargain shop. He does like a good deal, doesn't he? Gary, I thought the same thing. Johnny, so small. Why in the heck do we not play our starters at least one game or quarter? Everyone else does it. We lost to Tampa Bay last year because of that. Yeah, a number of people pointed that out to me yesterday. The only thing I would say is every coach has their own mantra. I've said on the show a lot, me as a coach, I do play people in exhibition games or preseason games, whatever you want to call it, because I do want to be, that's just how I'm wired. MCDC, during his time here as the coach, he hasn't done it. And let's face it, even with 1,000 injuries last year, they went 15-2. Yes, they lost to Tampa Bay. Could they have won if they played the preseason? That is possible, sure. But if, say, just for example, you play people in the preseason and Goff goes down for the season, and now everybody's like, why are you even have him out there in a preseason game? It doesn't matter anything. So it's a double-edged sword for sure. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get over our special guest of the day. You know him, you love him by now. Let's go over and bring over superfan Hutch Jr. Hutch Jr., how you doing this morning? You hear me?
Yep,
all
sorry,
right,
my mic. Yep, there we go. My mic was on mute. Sorry. I'm doing
no
good.
worries, man. All right, so hey, let's face it, man. You got 2.5 days until we get down to the 53-man roster. I saw you listening in. So, what are your thoughts on my 53-man roster? What would you do differently? Who would you keep? What changes would you make?
Yeah, so I think we were pretty much spot on the quarterback situation. I think we can both agree that Hendon Hooker is going to be probably flipping burgers at the nearest McDonald's. But I did have Dominic Lovett over Jackson Meeks. And the only reason why I think I would do that is just because of special teams. Jackson Meeks it's just going to be hard because if you keep Jackson Meeks and Dominic Lovett, you're telling you're basically saying Tim Patrick doesn't have a spot on this roster, which is going to be hard. They did pay him that contract in the offseason. It's going to suck, but I think he could possibly be one of the protected. I think they could protect Jackson Meeks. So there's that. I'm still stuck on Shane Gilstra. I think they go 3 tight ends just because of Laporta and the injury situation. What could happen? It's going to be very weird, but I don't know. I'm stuck with him. I think we were pretty much spot on the offensive linemen. On edge, I don't know if you said Nate Lynn makes the roster, but I think he's done enough in the preseason. And then I have Keith Cooper Jr. out just because of Mekhi Wingo coming back. I think if Mekhi Wingo was still on that PUP list, I think Keith Cooper would make it. So that's another one that we could see where he ends up. I don't know how many protections you guys get or how many we get. And then Trevor Nowaski, Cunningham, Pittman. I think now with Ezekiel Turner's injury, I think, that's going to be one of those 7 linebacker rooms. And then cornerbacks, I think you're going to rock DJ Reed, Terrion, and Meek, Avante, and Khalil Dorsey. I think it was weird to me. I know you were talking about it, but when I was at the game, Dorsey was like already in the game. Like he didn't even play. Like I saw him at training camp. He was suited up. And like he didn't play, and I was like, well, this is weird. I thought maybe they'd get him some reps. I don't remember seeing him in the game at all yesterday, which was really weird for me because I thought maybe same with Wingo. So that's why it made me think that Wingo is going to make the team because, like, for a guy that's coming off, I know he just came back from injury and they're trying to ramp him up, but for a guy like him, like you would want him to get snaps because I think he only played 2 games last year and he got that injury. So that's where I would have probably played him, and then. I'm stuck between Kinley and Strickland just because Strickland showed some physicality yesterday in the game, but I feel like Ian Kennelly has had a better training camp and things like that. I mean, he's had some interceptions, things like that. So I'm stuck between those two. That one's 50-50, so I'll be interested where they go with that. But I think what they'll do is I think they'll move Rocky Sin to safety, and then so they'll move Sin to safety, and then Avante Maddox to cornerback. But I think both those guys have to make the roster just because of their availability and where they can play.
Yeah, one of the things I really liked about the secondary, and I know I mentioned it when breaking down my ideas on the 53, is just about everybody in that secondary, whether it's safety or corner, can play all the spots. I mean, there'll be a couple guys that maybe don't play the slot. And there'll be other guys that can play the X or the outside that don't play the slot. But for the most part, they're all Swiss Army knives that can play all around, and that gives them some real versatility. We also can see, as you were pointing out, I've been pointing out, and probably a lot of people in the chat have pointed out, there's a real battle for the last, couple spots on the depth chart for the safety, for the corners, and all those guys can play. It's just, who do you end up choosing? The wide receiver room, you mentioned your thoughts on it. I've got us keeping 7 just because I think all 7 can play. Yes, I would use a couple of those guys as tight end number 3. I do think you keep Lovett, or they were going to keep Lovett, because he can develop as a receiver. And I also think maybe a year from now, he would assume the mantle that Khalif Raymond has as the punt and kick returner. But, if Raymond has another outstanding year, which he's had in recent seasons, that's going to make that an interesting conversation. I mean, he's 30, but really he could play a few more years as long as he keeps going. So let's talk about this, Hutch Jr., the quarterback spot. Do you think the Lions look to acquire somebody else, either through a trade or free agency? What do you do with quarterback, I'm assuming, number 3?
Yeah, I think you have to keep that option open. I think we all know it's Goff and Allen. I think you have to see what teams do and release. I think Browns have came out and said they're going to keep both of Gabriel and Shador. So they're probably going to have 3 or 4 quarterbacks.
Ain't that something?
It's crazy. And it was crazy to me that they even said, hey, these aren't even going to be our quarterbacks next year. We're probably going to draft one. So I don't know what they're doing over in Cleveland, but hey. But yeah, and that's the thing you have to look at. Do you rock 2 quarterbacks just because you want some of these guys to make the team, or do you go elsewhere? But yeah, there's going to be some surprise cuts for some of these teams. Like Miami, I'm going to be interested in what they do, because I thought Quinn Ewers had a great preseason. So do they cut Zach Wilson? And everyone knows at one point Zach Wilson was a high draft pick. He can win games. I'm not really a big fan of him, but he's there for a body if we need him. But yeah, it's just, I think you have to always keep the 3rd quarterback option open just because of what could happen. After last year, anything's possible. That was the most craziest injury plague season I think I've ever seen, ever. So yeah, I think you just have to keep it open. But I think they're probably comfortable right now rocking 2 quarterbacks, because then you're taking away from some of these guys like Nate Lynn, and maybe Whiteside makes the roster, or Ian Kenley, or someone like this. So I think they're just going to rock 2 quarterbacks. I think they'll keep their eyes open. But that I just don't see him carrying 3 and taking a spot away from someone else right now.
Right. All right. If you had to pick one spot or area position of the team that worries you the most, what would it be for this lineup, projected lineup?
D-line. I'm still not sold. That game yesterday, we didn't get very much pass rush at all. I thought Houston just had their way with their backups in our D-line. We had a couple pressures. I think we got 1 sack yesterday.
Right.
A couple quarterback hits, but it wasn't like any, when I went to the Miami game, it looked like our depth pieces were in the backfield. Keith Cooper had a really good day. Nate Lynn was getting in the backfield, things like that. Now, granted, it is depth and, Texans, whatever. But, we're still to a piece of, if after last year, I think Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are now looking at this roster and say, okay, if we go down, we have to have this depth again for next year. And if you're telling me that some of our players go down and these are the guys that are rushing the passer, I have no faith. And this brings me to my next question is, Z, when are you coming home? Because we desperately need you. And I actually was scared the other day because it came into my mind. Aaron Glenn is now the guy out in New York. Yeah. He was the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He's the one that had Z. Who says that the New York Jets don't give Z a call and say, hey, we want you on New York after their couple D-line signings? So now, are you competing with the New York Jets to sign Za'Darius? I don't think so. I think he ends up in Detroit. That's kind of the mystery case. We'll see if it happens. But if you don't get him and someone does, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are going to be a little bit, I think, criticized for a while why they didn't bring this guy in and waited so long.
All right, let's talk about the rookies real quick because I know you and I talked about it or texted about it before the game. For those who don't know, I just drew a blank on his name. Not Alquin Muhammad, but Hassanin was walking into forefield, didn't have a brace or anything on, nothing to hold the upper arm or anything. You know, he did kind of put it on social media. Hassanin did that. Ahmed Hassanin, that, hey, sooner than expected. That's all he put out there. How good of a news do you think that is potentially for Lions fans who want to see this 6th-round pick out there on the field, thinking that, man, he just might have something to him?
Yeah, that's actually great news. You know, obviously when he went down, if anyone remembers the CJ Gardner thing, when he went out, we didn't get him back to almost towards the end of the season, early in the
Right.
playoffs. So for him to come out and then say like, "Hey, I'll be back sooner than later," I guess that's kind of the trend this year. You know, we were told McNeil wasn't going to come back till October. Now he's talking about he's going to be back sooner than later. Now you got Hassanin saying sooner rather than later. It's great news because I thought he had a really good preseason. I think he was just starting to climb and kind of getting that football flow with the Lions, and that happened. Those pec injuries can be scary. I think everyone remembers when Ragnow like basically told Dan Campbell, like, bro, you're not benching me, you're not putting me on IR. I'm playing the rest of the year. I don't care if I got a torn pec or not. So him saying that just means, and saying he's going to be back rather than later is nice because the depth now doesn't take a hit as it was, and then now you can kind of figure out where this roster goes from there. So I'll be interested to see actually when he comes back. I think they'll probably give it 3-4 weeks. Who knows? It might be week 2 he's back. I don't know.
Right.
Those pec injuries are weird, so they'll probably play it by ear. But him not having to have surgery was probably huge news for them. And I think if he would have had surgery, I think Z would have been here a lot sooner.
You know, now let's talk about one of the other biggest rookie hype trains that I've ever seen for a non-first or second-round pick, and that's Teslaa. We all agree he's looked great out there in the preseason. Yes, he's doing it against second or third stringers for the most part. But a couple people messaged me and said, man, we need to get this kid out there with Goff. Dan Campbell confirms to the press yesterday that he's been getting some reps with the ones with Goff during the joint practices. What should Lions fans be thinking for their expectations for this guy into the regular season?
You know, it depends on when he plays. Because I don't know how they're going to play this, because right now, you know, you got JMO, you got St. Brown, and you got Tim Patrick, you got Laporta, you got Gibbs, and you got Monty. So that's probably your 6, whether they're all on the field at the same time. So are they going to, and I think personally Tesla's going to be better than Patrick. I think we can all agree on that. I think he's younger, he has the higher upside, whatever. But my thing is you also now put him out there. If you do put him out there with St. Brown and J-Mo and these guys, teams now have to respect this guy. They can't just say, hey, he's a decoy, we're not, whatever. So now if you do put him out there with, let's say they go 5 wide, you now have one of the most potent offense is in the league. And you can't just stick a bum corner, a bum linebacker on this guy. He's 6'4". The guy has he's fast. He's faster than I expected he was going to be watching him live. I mean, he burnt that guy off the line, and Kyle Allen drops it in a bucket. You know, the guy has magnet hands. Like, he has some of the softest hands I've ever seen in my life. Like, he goes up, he high points the ball. It kind of reminds, and I'm not saying he's anywhere near Calvin Johnson right now, but if you watch Calvin's tape when he went up and catch a ball, he would almost block out the DB and catch the ball. And Teslaa has a lot of that. When he went up and got that go ball, he does that on a few occasions. And he is going to be such a huge asset for this team, and it's only going to make our offense better. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's out there week 1. I could see him going 300-400 yards, but it would not shock me to see him towards the end of the year just getting more and more reps. And he ends at 600-700 receiving yards. I mean, if he's running goal balls with Jameson Williams, good luck. Like, these guys are I don't know. Brad Holmes has built this offense, and now we have one of the most deadly offenses in the league. And if you're going to tell me I know, like you were talking about earlier, we gave up, 3/3 for this guy? And everyone was like, what are we doing? Like, we could but Brad Holmes has said, like, look, man, I missed on Puka. I'm not missing again. So Tesla's going to be a nice little piece for this team. I think he's the Patrick replacement. I just think he's going to end up being the 3rd wide receiver. but I just don't think you can cut Patrick right now. I think it'll probably be maybe they look to trade Patrick for a team that needs a wide receiver down the line. So, but yeah, no, Teslaa is he's the real deal, man. And I'm happy we have him because yeah, sure he's playing twos, but like you got to also think when he's in the game, he's going to be going against your cornerback two, your slot corners, your linebackers. So like it's basically the same people that he's going to be playing in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, in my 53-man roster, for those just maybe joining us, I had us keeping 7 wide receivers. So all 3 of the big rookies, Meeks, Teslaa, Lovett. I have us keeping them all. Same with Raymond, same with Tim Patrick, because I do understand a lot of people have speculated whether or not they'd be cut, traded, or whatever. It is possible, I think, that maybe a trade happens with something like a Meeks or, whoever on the team. But then you start talking about just the football aspect of that wide receiving core. Those who don't know, my wife doesn't know a whole lot about football, so we were talking about it while I was talking to somebody on the phone. Just think about this. At some point in the season, we're probably going to see a backfield with Gibbs, Sam Laporta at tight end, St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Teslaa all out on the field. Man, that's a whole lot of speed to have to cover. You better get to that quarterback quick. Otherwise, man, and think about it. St. Brown, James Williams, they're going to draw the number 1 and number 2 cornerbacks on the team. How many teams can effectively take them away, have a third person pick up the running back out of the backfield, a fourth person pick up, Sam Laporta? So who's left guarding Teslaa? That'll be an interesting situation.
You better hope you have an athletic D lineman that can cover.
All right, one last question for you. He's just because he's kind of an enigma to a lot of the fans. Broderick Martin, in the last few weeks, maybe say even close to a month now, you've seen some promise out of him in the preseason games. Do you think he's done enough to warrant staying on the team? Do you think he gets cut? Where do you think ultimately happens with him?
I think he gets cut, man, and it just sucks, right? Because he had such a decent game against Miami, and then he had some flashes in this game, but then he was getting flipped over like a pancake on some runs, and it was like, man, can this guy just do something good? I know he's been the laughing stock of Detroit, but yeah, I just don't think he makes the 53. You're probably going to have to cut him. He might get picked up by a team that needs a D lineman. It's just hard, man, because I don't think you can sit here and tell me that Nate Lynn deserves to be cut over Broderick Martin. Nate Lynn has done enough in the preseason, I think, to make the roster. Wingo coming back, I think that kind of just pushed him farther down. And then you got some of these guys coming off the pup. When McNeil comes back, Broderick's definitely not going to be on the team. When Pascal comes back, who knows, week 5, Pascal's going to definitely be on the roster. So I think it's just better right now to just, be like, look, Broderick, we appreciate you. This is the one pick I think Brad Holmes just completely whiffed on. It's okay to say he doesn't whiff on many. But yeah, it's just the Broderick Martin experiment. I think it's over. But who knows? Maybe he goes to the practice squad. Maybe he works in. Maybe he shows some flashes again, and we see him in some of the games. But I had high hopes for the guy just because of his size. But I just don't know if it's injuries. Some of those guys when they get injured, they never come back right. So it could be that. But yeah, it's hard for me because I think Keith Cooper Jr. was another one that kind of impressed me. I thought he should make the 53 man, and he still might. He had a really good preseason in training camp. So I just think there's more people that deserve it over Broderick Martin.
Well, I want to thank you for getting up on a Sunday morning and joining us, giving us your thoughts. Hey, this will be part of the most fun time of the year. We just finished the preseason games. Now you got whatever's left now, 40-some hour, 50-some hour window until we get the official word. If you had to guess right now, bonus question for you. How many trades do the Lions make leading into 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Tuesday? Or any?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 0. We'll see, but I could be wrong. I was gonna go with 4. I could see them making a couple. If let's say we can't keep Lovett and Meeks, I could see one of those guys getting traded. See if we can recoup the draft picks. But I just think they know how they're going to roster this, and I think there's going to be some protections on some of these players. So yeah, I'm gonna say 0, but I could see a couple definitely with some of the pieces because you don't want to lose these guys for nothing. So try to get something out of nothing. Does Cleveland want to add another quarterback in Hendon Hooker? Get a 6th or 7th for him, and let him go over there and sit behind all that mess. But I think Dan Campbell just kind of said it. He might need to change the scenery, man.
Right.
I don't know if it's our offense. It was crazy because I looked at his numbers in Tennessee. Like this guy threw for like 3,000 yards, like almost 30 touchdowns a season when he was there. I was like, how do you go from that to this? Like that's a huge drop. So yeah, I like I said, I could see 0, but I could see 4. I mean, who knows? Brad Holmes might shock us all. And maybe trades for a high-end DN and packages all these young players. Who knows?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting time for Lions fans. And, hey, selfishly for content creators, if things happen, hey, that's good for us. All right, Hutch Jr., why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout-out to everybody where they can find you, support you, and your phenomenal work.
Yeah, as always, guys, you can find me on here. Thanks again for having me this morning, Dan. Duke Crew, thanks again for being amazing. Go follow the page on Facebook, The Lions Den. That's where you can find all the updates, training camp, game stuff, all that. Twitter, Superfan Hutch. And then, as always, cmvradio.com.
All right. Until next time, my friend, have a good one, and we'll catch you on the next show.
You too, buddy.
We'll see you now.
See ya.
All right, let's get to the Duke Crew comments section. Wrap this one up before we get out of here. The Trim Reaper, you tell them I'm coming. All right, fair enough. Dre Day. Choose so you'll be a protected player, Silver Surfer, correct. So people get cut. If they make it through the waiver wires, the Lions can bring them back. That's also going to be part of the thing that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell discuss. If we cut this player, what is the probability we can get them back here so we can put them on the practice squad and then protect 4 of them? All right, see, Southwest Line, I have not been tracking the preseason. They've had a linebacker returning kickoffs? They have indeed. And he's done a fair job outside of the very first one in the Hall of Fame game. Dre Day, Southwest Line, no worries there. He can get a better view of the field, and Goff doesn't need his hand held on the sidelines anymore, to be fair. Yeah, as far as Morton being up in the press box, yeah. Let's see, Kurt Steele, Lovett isn't going to make it. We'll see. I like him, but that's me. JK, Enos fake straw out for the season. He is indeed. His hands are terrible. Fair enough. Trim Reaper, good morning. Kurt Steele, the Trim Reaper, good morning. Dre Day, Story has been running kick returns for some reason in preseason, maybe in case Cleve gets hurt again. Yeah, it could be. Just maybe he's like a second or third option, something like that. Let's see. Southwest, Dre Day, fair point. Plus, he's got other guys that he can chat with on the sidelines like Mark Brunell. I guess different people have different perspectives. We'll see how it plays out. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Kurt Wingo in, Martin is out. Yeah, I like a lot of things about Martin, but yesterday I just, he didn't do enough, I felt. I'd see Mark, good morning, back at you. Trim Ripper, I love Wingo. Hey, something about Wingo. Mary, love it, is on the roster. I think if you're planning long-term, if you're thinking I need somebody ready to replace Khalif Raymond in the future, whether it's next year, whenever, that's why I ultimately kept him. He was the 7th receiver I selected on my group, but the reason why is his addition to special teams. Both gunning, returning kickoffs, stuff like that. And these are things MCDC clearly values, him and the rest of the coaching staff. DM5, if I had to choose, I would take Meeks over Lovett. I agree with that from a receiving standpoint. But Meeks needs to watch his diet carefully and stay in shape. I'm sure they'll keep him in shape. Kurt Steele, Mary Smith over who? Burns. Why keep a third-string quarterback? I did not, at least on my list. I only went with 2. Do you really expect or hope to win a game with your third quarterback? He's just taking a spot. So I think what both myself and Hutch Jr. and maybe other people have said too, your third quarterback's probably going to be on the practice squad. Might be a protected person so somebody can't poach him for you. But, hey, the NFL rules do allow for emergency quarterback on game days because of whatever happened between the 49ers and Philadelphia a couple playoffs ago. Dre Day, Kurt Steele, I call Meeks will be on practice squad since Lovett is more useful in special teams than Meeks. Could be possible. JK, Meeks, a.k.a. Debo, makes the practice squad. All right? Dylan Lovett just misses too many more talented players in the group. Meeks beats him out. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? Southwest Line, I just wonder if Brad Holmes and Zeus have an unofficial agreement in place. I hope so. Would be a shame not to have him back. Yeah, who knows? Maybe there's stuff we're not privy to information-wise regarding that situation. Derek, I understand that most of these guys won't make the roster, but I was not impressed with the product Detroit had on the field. No, the third stringers for Detroit, they just seem to get owned by everybody else's third stringers. And the reasoning why, I don't know. We deep dive into that. Trim Reaper, Teslaa, the Vanilla Gorilla. I'll go with that. Vern, coach, we need a number 3 quarterback trade for Sanders. Give Chicago a call. We'll see if they do. Mary, I don't know, Professor, but I know he's got to be here. Fair enough. I'll take that, Mary. Piercefield, Lovett's hands are terrible. He's not going to supplant Liff this season. Love it to practice squad. Meeks 253. All right. Let's see, Michael. Hooker flipping burgers, laughing out loud. No thanks. He'd probably drop it to the floor and try to serve it up as nothing happened. Maybe. Let's see. Until the Hunt, 100% Kurt. Southwest Lion Hooker has been such a disappointment. I liked him a year ago, but in hindsight, now we can all look back to last year's playoffs and say the Lions coaching staff probably had some reason to, basically bring in Teddy Two Gloves for the playoffs. So, is what it is. I like that idea. Vern says, Angie. Derek, Teslaa is Isaac the Brute. All right. Southwest Lion, just hope the offensive line gives Goff enough time. That's my biggest concern. I would say right now, Southwest, that's probably at least a lot of people's top concern for the team. See how they play out. Josh, is Avonte Maddox in or out going to be roster spot for the Lions this year? I think he's in. Avonte Maddox, yeah, I don't question that at all. I think he's going to make it, Josh. Dre Day, Meeks will never get on the field as a receiver with St. Brown, J-Mo, Patrick, and Teslaa. Khalif won't catch a pass this year, but only on the team for special teams, so Lovett takes the spot. Okay, we'll go with that. But I think we all see there's an interesting conversation to be had for a lot of these roster depth spots. Derek, I totally agree with you, Southwest Lion. Dre Day, Meeks G. Okay, Miles Marker. Lions currently have 8 edges listed on the roster. We'll see how many keep. Mayo Tron, says Lauren. Mary really liked Lovett, and Meeks really wants both of them to stay, but we know that's not going to happen. Yeah, probably not. I did keep 7, like I said, but that's what I would do, and I would get rid of tight end number 3 because, I just don't think he's a great option. DM5 TV, they need to pick up a good backup center in case Glasgow gets hurt or starts playing bad during the season. One should be available after cuts. We'll see if there's available. I mean, everybody else wants good players. I think if you're going to go for it, DM5, you're probably having to trade. I'm not sure if there'll be a great one available for trades, but maybe. I've been wrong before. Southwest Lions have skilled players up the yin-yang, but they need to give off enough time to fully realize those skilled players. I'll go with that. Dre Day makes his better hands, but doesn't need a receiver. The future is replacing Khalif, but he gets hurt to return kicks, and Meeks hasn't done that. No, I don't think Meeks is much of a kick returner, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he can develop. Tella, is Lovett actually that great at special teams? Good, maybe, but not great. Fair enough. Dre Day, better than Meeks, in my opinion. That might be accurate. Derek, we need to find a solid center and more Glasgow back to guard. All right, move him back to center. I am back to guard. We'll see. But again, you got to find somebody willing to give up a good, solid center. Until the Hunt, can we get another Lovett in the 7th round next year? Probably accurate. You probably could. Silver Michael, I thought the same thing. The kid is the worm. All right. Trim Raber, Ben is a Johnson. Carrie, now that the practice has subsided and the cut shall begin, it's time to turn our attention to the regular season game. Uno, the Fudge Packers, and how we're going to pump the Packers full of it. All right. Michael, laughing out loud. Derek, the Southwest, Derek Lewis, that's my focus. The offensive line. I think a lot of us have that same thought. DM5, Derek, I agree that at least trade for a quality backup center in case. We'll see if we can get one. Silver Server, Teslaa's hands are way better than Calvin Johnson. Yes, I said it. Didn't say he is a better receiver than Johnson, though. All right, maybe. Let's see, Southwest. Take care, folks. Got to run. Good to be back in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. It has been a hot second, hasn't it? So, DM5, Silver Server, you're dreaming. Mary Carey, agreed. We can't going to eat so much cheese. We're going to need some laxatives. There you go. Have some milk. Maybe a delicious Mountain Dew too. Miles by Southwest Line, catch you, bro. Angie, welcome back, Southwest. 100%, man. It's good to see you back. Burns going to the Bahamas this winter for a little bit. Heck, yes. Out of the cold snow and into the shorts and sands. Go enjoy it. Martin Peace says Kurt. Pierce, I would say back-to-back picks. Brad whiffed on Hooker and Martin. Hey, you know what? If those are the only misses, I think we've done okay. Thomas, why is it third stringers versus third stringers? We stink. Coaching? It could be a lot of different things for sure. Pierce, Broderick, the bus, Martin, bye-bye. Mary Smith, Burns, let's see, have fun and be safe. bring back some of that sunshine. We'll see if he can bring it back. Bottle it up and bring it back. So for the DM5, just what I see in the stream, fellow. CJ used to drop quite a few when a rookie, but CJ is a freak. I was referring purely to those kind of Chris Carter type hands. Isaac seems to have that. He does have good catches there. Let's see, D13. There was plenty of times Kelvin took plays off when he was needed the most. All right. Bo, Thomas, maybe our coaches are. All right. Carrie, practice. Exclamation point. Where's a practice? We'll find out. Bo, more used to higher talent. Maybe used to higher talent for sure. Miles Meyer, 2 weeks, baby. The countdown is on. Lauren, Hooker to the Browns, so they have to target quarterback room in history. Biggest, largest quarterback room in history, maybe. Miles Margaret, thank you, Junior. DM5 server. With all due respect to Calvin Johnson, Teslaa is no way comparable to or graded better than CJ. Maybe in the future he can achieve that, but right now he's an exciting rookie. I'll go with all of the above. Thomas, I say try and sign Allen to a 2 to 3 year extension. I bet 0 trades. Why? Be honest, who has really worth trading for the Lions? Who will be cut? Yeah, I think there are some players we could potentially see for future consideration. 7th round pick, 6th round pick, because there are some teams that need wide receivers, as we know, or other positions we're a little deeper at, maybe cornerback or safety. Let's see, Kurt Steele, third stringers are guys who aren't on the roster. Exclamation point, Thomas, that is accurate. Big M, time for the NFL to increase the roster size, especially with the increased games played this in the season. We'll see if they do it, but they did give us the practice squad, which, hey, a few years ago, we didn't even have that. Birds, Mary Smith, I'm waiting to bring back the warmth with the sunshines. Hey, bring that on back. Off the top, Hooker may need a change of scenery, might need Ravens or Commanders coaches to help his career. Yeah, just a place to kind of refresh himself for sure. Thomas, not happening. Kurt, I love you, but don't see it. Okay. George Silver, you shouldn't smoke this early in the morning. Bro, go back to sleep. Watch Kelvin's highlights. Kelvin's hands were all pro. Hall of Fame. Stop disrespecting him. Josh, Vontae Maddox makes the team. Why not? Yeah, I think he'll make the team. I don't see a situation where he doesn't. Paris Hooker needs a change of scenery. I agree with you. Burn, coach, could you make Tim Patrick a tight end? Yeah, that's what I was saying by keeping 7 wide receivers. I just think with a number of our offensive linemen and or receivers, you can produce a tight end number 3 for the rare situations they're out there. If somebody gets injured, fine, you got somebody on the practice squad to bring in. Maybe that's where you keep your tight end 3. Kerry, Lovett should be a Turner. He probably would be if he makes the team. Thomas, Hooker needs to play, and won't be here. Fair enough. DM5, Stewart has grit and speed, and he's hungry. I think he'll be an asset for the next few years. I'll go with that. Silver Server DM5 talking about basic qualities. Take the 2 as rookies. Teslaa's hands better. Everything else by far. Kelvin Johnson got nothing to do with greatness of CJ. Okay, Thomas. Hey, we got an emergency quarterback on the team. His name is Teslaa. I'd start him in the next 2 weeks to give him 50 snaps. All right, we'll see if they do that. See anymore. You could always use Montgomery as an emergency quarterback. Yes, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll use the wide receiver and running back as our number 3 quarterback. Kerry, agreed. Thomas, Silver Server or Teslaa? Yeah, but think about this. If he's getting all the reps at quarterback, what's he doing as a receiver? There's only so much time in the day you're allowed to practice. Thomas, Henry, Knuckles, emergency quarterback also. There you go. Off the top, I would let St. Brown be a number 3 string quarterback. I'll take that. Vernon Stewart has to make the 53. I think he does make the 53 per the report. Mary, Henry, I was thinking the same thing. Good call. We'll take that. Thomas, I'd like to just state when you are bringing in a quarterback off the street and place him ahead of guys who have been here on the team for 2 years, it tells you all you need to know. Hey, man, the only thing I can tell you is as a coach, you don't worry about people's feelings. You worry about the team. And some of I know coaches or the coaching decisions I made throughout my history upset a lot of people, but I don't care. I'm there to win. And if that upsets you, you need to go probably hit the door. Let's see. Trim River, have a great day. Coach of the crew. Woo! Back at you. Kerry, third stringer has to be practice squad quarterback. Yeah, I think we all agree with that. 100%. Thomas, I'm different. I love it. I'm going to be a player, but I prefer Bella because he catches with his hands and blocks. All right. I don't know who Bella is. Silver, can they keep, can't see them keeping 7 wide receivers. I'd say have a little courage. Everything does not happen to be perfect. Thanks, Tim Patrick, and let him go. Teslaa and Meeks are big bodies. Love it needs as needed as well. Could be. I got us keeping 7, but again, That's with what I would do. It's not necessarily what I think MCDC is going to do. And again, I would not keep a tight end 3 just because I don't see a good one on the team. Robert, morning coach and crew, back at you. Rob, Sons of Battles, maybe you should learn Ziltra's first name. Hey, Shane Ziltra, we'll go with that. Let's see, Josh, trade for edge rusher on Tuesday morning and afternoon cutdown day. Could be accurate. Silver Gordon Stewart, lock. There you go. The Miles Marker, 12 cornerbacks currently on roster. We do have a few. Pierce, edge depth is concerning. I'll go with that. Ziggy and friends, good morning. Captain Dan, the all-star Duke crew. It is an all-star crew we have here. Carrie, happy trails. Enjoy your Sunday. Stay safe. Go Lions. Woo! Back at you. Don Bird, the infamous one. This roster is too good now to experiment with projects. We maybe don't see another Giovanni Manu, Broderick Martin, Zion Baki type to project players taken anytime soon. Good morning, everyone. Has misses. All right. Yeah, every GM has misses. To your point there, Don Burr. You're right with that. So, Coach, how good is Lawrence Hitman Strickland in coverage? Keep him. I like Strickland. I like a lot about him. I had him on the outside looking in. Mary Smith, Carrie, have a blessed one. I'll take that. Pierce, Don, agreed. Dan, thankfully, one of them will be gone. One of them probably will be. Miles Marker, One Pride Worldwide. Bo, happy trails, Duke crew. All done, dusted for another preseason. See you later. We'll see you next time. Mary, Bo Booth, have a blessed day. Don Burr, Pierce, I never did get a trade up for Vaki pick. Yeah, I get it. Check him. Better than Calvin Johnson. He hasn't played one down and shows versus first Hall of Famers. It's crazy as heck. I'll go with that. It's crazy. Gary, Mary, back at you, Mary. God bless you in every way. I'll take that. Pierce, Don, I don't get the trade up for Martin and Manu either. Yeah, I think Manu might pan out. Martin, right now it's not looking good. I think we all agree with that. Big M, agreed, Don Burr. Silver Coach, even in this preseason, I have not been impressed with the pressures and sacks of the opposing quarterbacks too little. I'll go with that. Yep, the players got to perform. Maybe coaches got to coach better. All of the above. Don Burr, Pierce, I was a lot more intrigued about Martin and Manu because of Decker and DJ Reader were getting older. Yeah, Martin, I don't know if it's going to work out. Manu, I do feel a certain kind of way with. I am pretty happy with. Let's see. Coach Rock, I should say. You can use Teslaa as a defensive back too. Played in high school and had 2 interception state championship. Maybe. Big difference between high school, as we all know, and the pros, though. David Evenbrowski can play better than Hooker. I doubt that, 100%. Pierce, Don, you see on the hot seat this year? We'll see. He's got to grow, though. He needs some growth, I think. But how much is he going to grow this year? That's a big thing. Leonard, great sanitation. Coach, everyone have a great day. Boy, I'm having some button problems here. JK, let Teslaa play quarterback for emergency purposes. There we go. DM5, Jacob, exactly. Silver Survey has officially lost his mind on Lions Talk Live. Dunbar Pierce next year definitely is this year. No? Okay. Silver Survey, I know, Coach, I was kidding with Teslaa, but he has the personality of quarterback, though. Tough, calm, cool, and collective. All right? Jacob, stop kidding for clout. There you go. Silver Surfer. Thank you, DM5 TV. You lost my mind a long time ago. Hey, sometimes it happens to us all. DM5, I see Silver Server. Mary, everyone have a safe and blessed weekend. See you tomorrow. We'll see you then. JK, sorry, Hooker. Hey, it happens. All right, guys, we'll go and get out of here. If there is breaking news later today, I'll get over to you as quick as possible. If you would be so kind before checking out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit all the buttons. Do something kind for someone you don't know. Be a good human being. And we'll see you guys on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody. Have a great one. You're still here? What are you doing here? It's over. The show's over. Go home.